Hello carnivore hunters. This weekend we are getting ready for our annual family ATV trip. We do kind of a fall foliage trip where we ride our ATVs for the weekend. And what that means for me means beef jerky making time, or more appropriately deer jerky making time. Now, full disclosure, before I share this recipe with you, I want you to understand this is not strictly a carnivore recipe. There's going to be some ingredients in there that some of you who are more strict with carnivore are probably going to object to, and believe me, I am on the lookout for a more carnivore friendly recipe. But until I find that recipe, this is a recipe that I know that my friends and family already love. Even those people that tell me they don't really like mule deer do like this deer jerky recipe. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually starting out with about 3 pounds of deer steaks here. And so I'm going to cut these up right now into about 1/4 inch slices. So you do want your deer meat to be partially frozen, or whatever meat you're using, make sure it's partially frozen. That way it makes it a lot easier to get nice straight cuts. And if it's not going to be perfect necessarily, but you do want to get it as close to 1/4 inch as you can. On ones like this where you have that little connective tissue, I like to cut that off because we all know that doesn't necessarily taste the best coming from especially a deer. So we're going to go ahead and cut the rest of these up here. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go off camera a little bit, cut up the rest of this meat. Then I'm going to come back, show you how we make the marinade. All right, carnivore hunters, I'm back. So I've sliced up all of my deer steaks over here into those 1/4 inch slices, which now we're able to move on to step 2, which is making this marinade. Now, again, this is not a super strict carnivore recipe, but our deer meat's still going to be the star of the show. And my philosophy with cooking, especially cooking for the carnivore diet, is I'll put anything on in a seasoning amount. I won't use any kind of plants when you're talking about a full-on ingredient, but all of the things that are going into this is just going to stuff that's kind of soak into that meat, and we're getting minuscule amounts once we're done with the final product. So what I'm going to do, start out here, and I can hear your comments already. I'm going to start out with a can of Dr. Pepper. And you can use other sodas if you want. I've even used beer before. I found that Dr. Pepper gives it a little bit of almost a teriyaki flavor to it. So that little bit of sweetness, I kind of like it. Our second ingredient here, this is going to be a 1/2 cup of soy sauce. And then a 1/4 cup of Worcestershire sauce. Next, 3 tablespoons of brown sugar. Get that all in there. This is 1 tablespoon of Morton's Tender Quick. Your local hardware store or sporting goods store probably has some. Let's make sure we get all that in there. It's going to help it get nice and tender. I now have 2 tablespoons of black pepper. And then finally, 1 teaspoon of garlic salt. So get that all in there. And this one's optional, so red pepper flakes if you want to add a little bit of extra heat, which I'm feeling that today. So I'm just going to throw that in there. No measurement on that. You either don't add it at all, or you can add as much as you want to get it as hot and spicy as you like it. So my final step with this marinade is just to get everything kind of mixed up. Really just looking to have our sugar and that Tender Quick, get that nice and dissolved. Should actually happen pretty quick with with the acidity from the Dr. Pepper. That's going to make that pretty easy for you. And finally, all I have to do is take this bag of meat over here, and I'm going to pour this in here, being careful not to spill anything. Get that all up. I want this nice and sealed. Try to squeeze out some air if you can. And now, ultimately, what I'm going to do, get that stirred around a little bit so get all that flavor all over every bit we have. I'm going to rinse out this bowl now, and actually, once it's rinsed out, I'm going to put this bag inside the bowl. That way, if for some reason the bag springs a leak, you don't get a mess in your refrigerator. But then we're going to let this sit overnight, and I'm going to come back, and tomorrow we're going to throw it on the smoker. All right, see you soon. All right, carnivore hunters, through the magic of YouTube, it's tomorrow already. So our jerky meat has been marinating for overnight, about 18 hours now at this point. So what I've done so far here, just so you can kind of see what the end product's going to look like, I lay out the jerky on these grates here, sprinkle it with a little extra black pepper. And these are grates, if you have some or you want to get a hold of some, they really are great for jerky. This way you can kind of transport it all in one shot, and you're still able to get smoke all around it. The other thing I do, I like these for the bottom level because it's got that grid pattern, so you don't have to worry as much about things falling through. These I couldn't find in a grid pattern. I'm not sure if you can see that there, but what I like about these is you can stack it. So if you have a smaller smoker like I do, you can actually get quite a bit more on in one go and make that much more jerky each time you go. So that's what I'm going to do. We're going to do that with the rest of this here. But before I do that, I just wanted to share with you this one little thing. My smoker that I got, it's a Traeger. It's a great product. Picked it up from Costco though, and it is the Costco exclusive version. So it was a little bit less. I think it was a great deal. The one feature it does not have that I wish it did have is the super smoke feature. And so the way I've gotten around that is I bought this little tube off of Amazon. I think it was like 20 bucks. But what you do with this is you fill this up with additional wood pellets, light it, let it sit for about 15 minutes till it gets good and smoldering. Then you can blow it out, and you just lay that in the grill with whatever you're cooking. So you get that extra smoke without having to spend the extra money on additional super smoke feature on an upper end grill, or if you just wanted to use this on a regular gas grill, you could do that as well. So we're going to get that going. My next step here, I'm going to go ahead and load up the rest of this meat onto these racks, and then I'm going to go ahead and throw them on the grill, and we'll check back with you guys in a little while. Probably take us about 4 hours, but I'm going to check on this after about 2.5, just to make sure. Hey carnivore hunters, we're back. It has been about 2.5 hours here, so we just want to check on our deer jerky, make sure everything's coming along the way we expect it to. I don't think it's going to be done quite yet, but you still want to check on it periodically along the way. As you can see, that rack setup I was showing you before, even though this is a relatively small smoker, we've doubled our real estate right here just by adding that second set of racks in. Plus, they'll be easier to pull off all at once we're done. And checking on these, they're looking all pretty good, but not quite done yet. So we're going to go ahead and close this back up. Realistically, like I said before, this is probably going to be a total of about 4 hours. If this was a fattier meat like your homemade beef jerky, usually 2 to 2.5 hours is enough. But I found with your leaner meats, any kind of deer, elk, you want to leave it on there usually closer to 4 hours to get that kind of perfect texture, perfect taste. So again, we'll leave this here for about another hour and a half, and we'll come back and show you when we take it off. Hey carnivore hunters, it has been just a little over 4 hours. I did leave it on a little bit longer than I normally would because I realized I cut a few of these up just a little bit thick, so I wanted to make sure everything was getting nice and cooked through the way we like it. So right now we've just brought everything in the house. We're going to let it go ahead and cool on these racks till it comes down to room temperature, then throw everything into an airtight container. I usually just use a Ziploc bag, probably end up just throwing it in the cabinet. Now if you want this to last for more than about 2 weeks, you will want to put it in the refrigerator, but up to about 2 weeks you can just leave it in a cabinet somewhere at room temperature. Refrigerator will get you out to about a month. So that is our recipe. Now if you like this content, please don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Also be on the lookout for my brother's ground meat jerky recipe, which should be coming out here shortly. And until next time, guys, enjoy your hunt.